The final, I hope, video of these magical girls. I hope. To finish off this fun series, I decided the final trio should be Sun, Moon, and Void, or rather, Death. These will be the celestials of this fairy tale universe, the embodiments of two of the celestial bodies and the emptiness beyond them. I hope you enjoy the final episode of this Magical Girl series. The first of the celestial bodies, and the biggest and most powerful, the sun. I was in some sort of art lockup when I started her. I was struggling with the overall vision of her final form. I knew I wanted to include solar flares and flicks of sparks around her body, and I even contemplated drawing a flowy sun arc scarf around her head, mimicking a halo and making her silhouette more interesting. Instead, I was recommended a short by Carol Lynn and was instantly inspired to draw a sun halo crown. I drew inspiration from Sketch's art corner as I worked on the patterns of the skin. It really helped me envision the morphing, fiery surface of a sun. I used a watercolor brush to add layers of yellow, orange, and white, and the watercolor brushes are made by, what's her name, Digital Art Junkie? Yeah, excellent watercolor brushes. Do not regret my purchase at all. I used red near the ends of her limbs, creating a sort of Siamese fade while keeping the brightest colors near her chest and head. I wanted to make it look like she had sort of a burning core in her chest and behind her eyes. Solar flares were tricky, but I ultimately love how they turned out. They look so perfect. The way they wrap around her body, making her seem so ethereal and fiery, and just looks too good. Early on in her creation, I envisioned a sort of see-through veil-like dress that ended in tongues of flame. I struggled with this concept a lot. It's harder to layer shining, bright layers just so, and yet I had to leave things just dark enough to allow people to see the dress. Too light, it looks off. Too dark, it doesn't look shiny enough. It's just conundrum. Lots of layering and fading and playing with layer styles just really helped. I think I still could have at least shown off the cool patterns of her body though. Maybe I should have added it to the dress. Her halo turned out delicious, honestly. I copied the same fade of her body and blurred it a bit to make it look like straight up flame blasting tongues. Her eyes also vanished in the fray, and thankfully I lined them with dark red. I wanted her lashes to stand out, framing her eyes and sharpening them. I really wanted to have this elongated, ethereal look again about her with minimal facial expression. She is indeed the very source of life for her Earth, but she is also a source of death and destruction. I really wanted to convey this narrow, scrutinizing look as she surveys her world and her fellow celestial companions. And I think that's all I can say about her. Here she is. I gotta thank God more often for these artistic gifts. Love creating. I think I did her little circle frames really well this time. The little circle frames look like nebula gases, the background. A lot of her skin patterns were lost with the addition of the dress, but at least y'all got to see them before they were covered up. Let me know if you like this result in the comments. The second celestial of the skies, the moon. Overseer of the stars, guardian of the night, the moon is a gentle soul of comforting, cold light. I wanted to convey a sleepy look about her, and I made her body shape a little more rounded than the sun's. Her hands are small and delicate, perhaps too small and delicate, and her complexion is pale and gently marked. So much I want to say while I show y'all the speed paint, so bear with me as I try to get my thoughts in order. Firstly, I struggled with her outfit. I wanted something rounded at first, almost royal and puffy to show off her status as a celestial, and to convey the rounder, softer shape of the moon, contrasting the fiery sharpness and elongated looks of the sun. Eventually, I was struck with the idea to draw her in a nightgown with long hair falling far past her knees, bound in a bedtime braid. Originally, I was going to make her nightgown fade into a mesh near her knees, but I forewent that decision in favor of keeping the moon phases emblazoned on the hem and neckline. You'll see I drew a little fairy near her head in the original sketch. I almost made the stars her little like pixie people, but I changed my mind later on. I decided to print the stars on a long veil that connects to her head with a larger star headdress crown tiara thing. I honestly think that decision was the best. I just can't get enough of her veil. Alright, onto her skin. The moon is pockmarked with craters and specks and the like, and I really wanted to implement that creatively. I considered making her freckly, but that doesn't quite convey the look I really wanted. I settled on moles instead. I love each of these little marks. It just really helps her look like the surface of the moon without drawing giant, like spotted skin. I wasn't quite envisioning spotted skin, although that would have been a really cool creative idea, sort of a vitiligo effect. That might have been really pretty. I also really wanted to make her look sleepy and gentle. I drew her eyes a bit more droopy and half open and added a darker color beneath to mimic eye bags. She honestly turned out so well for how clueless I began. Her face shape, mwah, the hair, the moon phases on her gown, the lower right depiction of her hiding behind the veil of stars, also her little hair comb that fastens her veil to her hair. It's just so nice. I love how it's like a smaller version of the sun's larger flaring crown. Places So good. She is the gentle guardian who watches over sleeping subjects, who guides hunters, and blesses howling wolves. As I show my other favorite bits, I'm gonna rudely interrupt your viewing experience with a humble request. Ifest thou be liking mine arts, I would be ever so pleased to receiveth and like, perhaps even a subscribeth. It simply lets me know that you like what you see, and I'd love for you to be notified when I next post. Thank you all for those who obliged, and please enjoy the next Guardian or Celestial in this lineup. Death was a strange one. I've created nymphs and celestials that bring life. Their very presence allows life to thrive and move on. Their combined presence is what makes life. Death is, in essence, the absence of these things. The absence of flora, funga, fauna, fire, air, earth, water, and the influence of the moon and sun. That's why I kinda worked her into the lore as also being the void behind the moon, sun, and stars. The void is dead due to the absence of nymphs and celestials. Therefore, because she is the embodiment of the absence, she is also death. Because of her status as death, I'm not going to make her merely a black ball with eyes, or Minecraft null, you know? She needs to embody void, yes, but she's also a symbol of passing on. She represents a place where souls rest, in nothingness, in the void. Of course, I don't believe that in my own religion, but in this world, this is how it is. So, after much struggle, I ended up with her general body representing the void of space, and her clothes representing the souls of the once living. Before I even began, I knew I didn't want to go the typical Grim Reaper route with a dark cloak and robes, the hood and sickle, and a human skull for a face. Firstly, I hadn't designed humans in this world yet, and secondly, I needed her to stand out from the rest of the Grim Reaper death types. I took inspiration from the Greek god Thanatos, the god of peaceful death, for her overall look. Thanatos is often depicted with the wings of ravens, and I decided to, thanks to a certain someone's suggestions, cover her face with a raven's skull. I played around so much with robes and drapery, and I really need to get better at drawing Greek clothing because I failed on multiple counts. Her body was going to be an outline of black holding together bone like some sort of strange energy. I wanted to show off the skeleton, so I didn't want a covering robe, but she also needed a better silhouette than simply bird bones. Eventually, I settled on some sort of sheer cloth to drape around her, which is where the representation of spirits inspiration came in. Her wings spread over the cosmos and hold the void within them, while her body and clothes pay homage to what happens after one passes on. Of course, during this process, I forgot how anatomy worked, and I misplaced the brain cells screaming at me, quote, "If you draw bones, you need to know what the frick those bones look like," and all that. Bah humbug, I say. And here is the stunning queen herself. I made a simple glow effect in her chest and whisking from her eye to tie in the whole "I carry souls" bit. I like how she turned out. Just ethereal enough to pass as a celestial, scary and dark enough to spook those afraid of her hand. Her clothes sort of took on a classic ghostly look, and I'm here for it. Perfect. She's by far the most alien in appearance, but Fauna would definitely keep her company at the reunion picnics, with her looking so birdsome and all. What do you think? Did I do alright for this deathly girl? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thus ends my Magical Nymph, Goddess, and Celestial series. For those who stuck around and offered helpful comments and ideas, thank you. Y'all kept me accountable and inspired, and I definitely could not have come up with this on my own. For those curious about my next series, I'm doing a few collabs first. Then I'm thinking of finally starting a My Little Pony redesign series, so stay tuned. I'll catch you next time.